Hi, and welcome to Correct Way. And this is the DUOTTS S26 all-wheel drive e-bike. So, let me tell you more about it. First up, huge thanks to DUOTTS for providing me this bike for testing purposes. If you want to get a bike like this, feel free to use my affiliate link below. You do help out the channel by using this link and then purchasing a bike if you actually fancy it. If not, that's fine. I'm happy to see you watching the video. And I did already spend a fair amount of time with this bike. I've put around 300 kilometers on the clock. With that said, throughout the past weeks when I was testing it, I've come to really know what it's all about. What are the features, what are the good sides, what are the bad sides. I'll definitely tell you about the bad sides. So yeah, let's just get into it. First up, a little overview though. And as you can see, this bike is huge. This bike just doesn't really look like a bike anymore. It is, for me, like a motorcycle with a cardio function. Now you can use it as a bike, stock, without any throttle, with, just a pedal assist, but it comes with some downsides. So if you would want to use this bike in its full legal mode, you wouldn't have the throttle here, and that makes starting with the bike, oh, now it turns on, quite difficult as it doesn't have a cadence sensor. And this pedal assist is quite slow. Like, look at this, one turn and then it goes. Okay, now it was half a turn, but it also doesn't really stop immediately after you stop pedaling. Like, it goes on for another second. And the worst part about it is that you can pedal and then brake and then it accelerates again after you stop pedaling, which is quite frustrating to say the least. And you have to particularly watch out for the auto acceleration, in turns, as you'll stop pedaling and then it can still accelerate. So I told about that to DUOTTS or DUOTTS, and hopefully they'll find a solution for that. Now, once you get going, the bike is fairly easy to, ride on after you get past the initial hurdle of starting with the bike. But you can tell that it is not really designed for going just 25 kilometers an hour, as I just use like 4 gears now. So the 4th gear is right now, and it's fairly light on me. Anything heavier is like, well, you can use it, but it's not that comfortable. So the 5th, 6th and 7th gear is just for the unlock mode basically, and even the 1st gear is quite heavy for this bike. Like, if I want to start on the 1st gear, it still takes quite a bit of force to get going. 3rd is basically my favorite gear. So just 3 gears for the legal mode is, not that much, but tops 4. The throttle also has its upsides and downsides. If you use the throttle and you accelerate and you stop using the throttle, then it sort of like has a jitter moment for a second. So throttle and then accelerates again, like after a second. So even when using the throttle, starting from 0 and then pedaling, you have a small break in between. With that said, once you get off the beaten path and you go off-road, the bike becomes a lot more fun. And then you can use the full suspension and keeping the same speed. Like, the pedal assist here is really, it's like a cruise control. I don't think it's like pedal assist. It's a motorbike with an additional cardio function, really. But then again, going off-road, you can really appreciate the dual motors, the full suspension, and the big fat tires. Mode 3, dual motor. Let's go up. Oh yeah. Look how differently it climbs in single motor mode and in dual motor. Yeet. But if you want to go uphill and go from a standstill on this bike without the throttle, like, check this out. It's almost impossible. But now it goes. So as you can see, this bike can be used in a city, and it's very, comfortable with its geometry. It's very stable. The tires and the suspension are eating up a lot of the bumps, but really where this thing shines is off-road. So if you're someone that lives further away from the city and you're looking for a, small dirt bike replacement or something just to haul your ass around the neighborhood with 90 kilometers of range, tested by me via GPS, in pedal assist mode 5, this thing just becomes a lot more interesting then. Now that we're off-road, I guess we can unlock the bike and just press on those two buttons at the same time. You go to 8, and I have already the 65 here, number 65, should be 67 to unlock the top speed. And now also the full power is unlocked. And now the bike becomes a lot more fun, I can tell you that. So let's use the higher gears now. And this thing is fast! Whoa! But then of course I have some concerns about safety, because while motorcycles are designed to go higher speeds, or even like mopeds up to 45, this isn't really. This still has regular bike brakes. It doesn't brake so well. And I don't know how durable it is to keep riding at those speeds. I don't want to crash in a bicycle helmet going 50 kilometers an hour. So off-road, I would probably keep it to like 30 kilometers an hour in mode 2, or tops 40 kilometers an hour in mode 3. On long journeys and going off-road, yeah, that's where this thing shines a little more. This is really the favorite terrain of this bike. Gravel roads. Gravel roads. Take me home. Right, so here's our faithful 30-degree incline. Let's put it into dual motor mode. And let's get up here. That's where the Vacol failed us. Oh yeah, so not that simply made, but at least I could get up there. All right, so I did wanted to show you some more challenging off-road scenarios here in a forest, so you can see how this bike behaves off-road. And really, it's just a lot of power and a constant fight with the PAS system if you want to actually pedal. Like, I just don't like to just use the throttle. Whee! Here we have an incline on the right. I was usually testing it with my electric unicycle, so let's just go up there. Oh, if I make it around the turn here. It's best to like pedal and brake at the same time, because then it... Oh, the motor engages right away. Like, look at that. Okay, we're going up. We're going up. Oh my God, so much sand. Oh, I would love a lighter gear here, but still, even so, we make it up this hill. Whoa! So very nice. A longer off-road section. Let's go up. Small jump here. So this bike, like, it can handle off-road. You just constantly need to press on the brake, not for braking itself, just to like disengage acceleration. A lot of sounds though, especially from the mud guards. Super capable though. Where do we go here? Let's go here. Really, fat bike tires do help a lot in those sandy situations. Whoa! There's a lot of speed here. And whoop. Now look guys, this is absolute sand. Like you can see here, it's really difficult to ride in, but check this out. We do have all-wheel drive. So really, I wouldn't drive here or ride here or anything besides this. So let's see how it goes. Right away, I'm digging myself in. Go on, I just need Should I use the throttle? Let's see. Now, the throttle has somehow less power. All right, so we're going. This is literal, just sand. This is just sand. This is like a freaking beach. But it just keeps on going. This is insane. Look at that. Maybe the motors will fry soon, we'll see. But no other bike, man. No other bike would be able to do that. That's crazy. Here I was very happy that the motor kept on spinning. That's absolutely insane. Like, look. It's so deep sand. Crazy, man, crazy. It's like stays up there. It's crazy. Whoa. The most difficult thing is to start because the throttle just doesn't deliver the full power. Or maybe it just delivers it after, you know, start riding on it. But once you get going, this thing is crazy in the sand here. But you gotta start first. I don't know if I'll be able to do that here. Come on! Yes! Power! 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 Yes! Go! Go, Duo titties! Oh my! Whoa! You were! Oh my goodness! Come on, Duo titties! I know we can do it! Whoa! Whoa! Going through sand. Just whoa, bush! Don't go into the bush! Don't meet bush! Whoa! That was crazy! For 1,400 euro, you actually do get a lot on this bike. You do get front and back suspension, a pretty big battery, 960 watt hours, and two 750 watt motors, front and back, which does make this thing especially illegally looking. So if your country has really strict laws on, you know, what kind of e-bike is legal, like this just raises all of the alarm bells. Two motors, which is already kind of over 250 watts. A throttle, which you can use, you don't have to, but it does make sense on a C-bike, especially for starting. So if you're really looking for something super legal and under the radar, look elsewhere. Like this is not a bike that will be under the radar or particularly legal. So with that out of the way, let's talk a bit about the features on this bike. It has plenty of them. We'll go from top to bottom, front to back. I'll try to tell you everything that is important to know. Something that is not on a spec sheet on the internet, just some real world use case of said features. And let's start with the handlebar. Going from left to right, we have grips which feel quite cheap. Honestly, that's very similar to something that I would see 5 years ago on a Cabo Wolf Warrior scooter. I mean, they do their job, they don't leave any marks on my hands, but they do not feel premium. Happily, they don't move around too much though. Right next to the handlebar, we have some controls. This is the light button, very similarly to a motorcycle. And also very similarly to a motorcycle, the front light does come with a cutoff beam, which is very nice, you know, for not blinding others. But for off-road, it's probably better to have a broader beam. This also does make the bike look a little bit more motorcycle-like, which is, you know, it looks cool. But for legality, I guess not the best thing. The taillight is also very, very well visible. Even on the sides, you have quite a bit of lighting to be visible from the side. And the brake light is in there as well. This is a very, very important button, which is dual motor. I guess it's, I don't know why it's DS. Really doesn't have anything to do with the Nintendo brand. But this turns on and off your dual motor mode. So when it's in, you have two motors. When it's out, you have just a single one. I wish there would be like a light next to it or some sort of switch like this, because not always do I like remember what mode I was in. But hey, with this button, you turn on dual motor mode. It's much, much faster with two motors than one. Now I will do a speed test on this bike. I would never go so fast anywhere on it, but you know, I want to show you the performance. This is not a motorcycle. This is not registered. This doesn't have any sort of quality control like motorcycles do. But with that said, we're in mode 5, we have dual motor on, so let's see how fast it goes. Also, oh man, I think I need to start again. This is the pedal assist for you. Also, there's no solar around here. I will not pass anyone at this high speed. So let's go, come on, let's go, move. 20, 30, 40, and 50. 56, and stopping to 0. I'll also do the brake test here. I'll brake at this lamppost here. Oh. Quite heavy, quite a lot of power was used, but yeah, it did brake in a very small, short distance. Quite similar to the Fido I was recently testing, but much more stable because of the geometry and longer wheelbase. There's also a horn here, quite horny. Right next to it we have the power on and off switch for the bike to just turn it on. And sadly, there is no ignition key for the bike, so you can't actually leave the bike somewhere and lock it, even in the app. And this is a downside for me. I just like to have my device locked and turned off, especially if someone were to steal it. Like, at least, you know, someone wouldn't have the key. But here, so while the bike does come with a key and you can, you know, lock the battery, unlock it, and you can take it out, you can even turn the battery power supply on and off. There's no way to actually leave the bike outside locked and not ready to go with the battery installed. Like, I mean, someone can just like turn it on with the press of a button, right? Small downside here. Here we select the power assist modes from 0 to 5. By pressing those two buttons at the same time, you go into the advanced menu, which also show you somewhere where it's not that bright outside, like you can't see as much here, even though the display brightness is on max setting now. By the way, I really like the fact that the buttons here do light up in the night, so you can always see where your plus, minus, and on and off button is. So you can find a full list of all of the P settings on the internet. The ones that we'll be looking at here is P1, that's the screen brightness. If you ride in the dark, you can set it down lower. And then P8 is your speed unlock setting. 67 means that the bike is fully unlocked. Now it's at 66. You can also set it to 69, just for shits and giggles. P9 is the zero start. Essentially in gear 0, this will mean that the throttle will work or not. So also a useful setting. Oh, let's go back. P16 is your odometer cancel. I don't want to cancel it. It's at 300 kilometers. You can reset the trip. I mean, the odometer of the bike. This function should not be in the bike because, you know, then people can scam you with the range or how far the bike has traveled. And P17 is cruise control. If you accelerate with the bike and you leave it at set throttle setting, then it will just keep the speed. It's a bit of a, weird thing to have on an e-bike, but hey, that's here. Now let's take a look at the DUOTTS app. It actually looks quite fancy. Looks a bit better than the Fido app that I was recently checking out. There's a single mileage, the ride time in seconds, if that's something that you need to find out. Total mileage, you can set your units, cruise control on or off. Yeah. What? Jesus Christ, no. Stop. Okay. Okay, cruise is just the creep mode. Oh, that really caught me off guard. Good to know. And you have your start mode. It's also in the P settings. You can find out where the vehicle is, but that is only like the last place where you've seen it. It doesn't have a GPS tracker as far as I'm concerned. There's also a settings menu, but really there is not a lot of settings here. You can just change your name of the device, share it, create a group, and a bunch of other stuff. You can't really like select to lock the bike, like you need to lock the bike, but isn't the app? Arrgh! I guess there's some sharing options. I don't really want to do that. Camera, me, some social, like, does anyone ever use those functions? Like, do you do that? I don't know. So not that many settings in the app. Most importantly, the locking feature is missing. But other than that, looking good, and just don't press this button unless you really want to have the creep mode enabled. We also do get a USB charger for your phone. Very handy, very nice. And the display is visible in pretty much all weather conditions. Now, you can't see it maybe as well on the DJI Osmo here, but like wherever you ride, you can easily and nicely adjust it. You can see the battery state here on the top 5 bars, the speed, the mode you're in, everything important is here. Even if you go here, the battery voltage readout. And by the way, it goes down to 42 volts. I was thinking it would be going down to 40 volts as it's a 13S bike, 48 volts nominal voltage, but no, it goes down to 42. The bars also go down very gradually. You can easily really measure how far you can go with the charge by looking at the battery state here. Looking at the right side, we have a very classic Shimano shifter, and it's the same thing essentially I had in other sort of 20-inch e-bikes that I was testing. Here the gear range is definitely destined for speed. In the locked setting, you can basically just use the 4 gears here to easily pedal, and the first gear is still quite heavy. Oh, and of course the brake levers. The brake levers themselves are very nice and tactile. You can also adjust where they grip by screwing in or out the screw, but I think that the brakes are not that adequate for this 40-kilogram bike with 26-inch tires. They don't feel strong. I don't know if it's the brakes themselves, if it's the calipers, if it's the weight of the bike, but this bike is like difficult to stop, especially for higher speeds. I would like to see more powerful brakes than those ones. I mean, they're hydraulic and they should be, sufficient, but they really don't feel sufficient for this bike. The handlebar is very wide and you have a sort of leaning forward position on this bike, but it's still very comfortable to go even long distances. However, for shorter riders, like look at that, I'm 1.80 meters and I already have the frame up my crotch. This is not a bike for people that are below like 175 centimeters, 172, because it's a very tall bike. Like, it doesn't look as big in the picture. So if you are not a tall rider, keep that in mind, because it's a big bike. Now you can of course adjust the height of the saddle in the back, which will make the position like, leaning more forward or less forward. But with that said, it's a big bike. Moving further down, let's talk about the frame a little bit. The frame feels very sturdy. There's some sounds coming from this area primarily. So here there are some screws that you need to tighten if the battery rattles a bit too much. But I love the geometry a lot. It's a very sturdy feeling ride. It's very, very stable with those huge tires. And it does well for all kinds of off-roading. I do feel very secure and planted on the bike. When it comes to the front suspension, I can't really adjust it. I don't know if it's my fault or not, but I can't either lock it or unlock it. I just can't turn it. So I don't know, maybe this button just doesn't work, but it doesn't have like a lot of travel here. You can see how far it goes, but it does help out a lot in off-road scenarios. It's also pretty stiff, but I don't mind that at all. The huge tires do help out with the suspension too. Now when it comes to the tail suspension, we have a small damper here, and it does help. Yeah, having a full suspension bike will be a lot more comfortable for such off-road journeys, and I do like in general the suspension on this bike. It's quite stiff, not a lot of travel, but still quite nice and helpful. Now this is a part which is fairly demanding for suspension. It's going 30 kilometers an hour here, and the full suspension does help out a lot. Like, I can feel a lot of the bumps still. It's still pretty stiff, but this would be unbearable, unbearable without like any suspension, especially without tail suspension. But yeah, bumps are bumps, even with suspension. All right, so here we have a nice set of stair drops. Let's see how it goes. Whee! Can we just drop? Whee! And whoa! Nice. It's very loud. You have to keep in mind though that if you have a lot of cargo on the cargo rack, the back suspension will like perform worse because there's just like more weight that bounces around. Ideally, you would want to have the rack connected to the frame here on the suspended element instead of on the swing arm. Now, as you know, I am a mudguard and kickstand aficionado, and the mudguards here, they make a lot of sounds. I don't like the mounting mechanism here. Both front and back flop around a lot. I think they could just improve the mounting here. They are pretty short, so you will get probably soiled if you go off-roading when it's wet outside, but at least there's something. But yeah, definitely room for improvement. You can see here even quite a lot of dirt, yeah, just stacking up. Now, I already talked about the brakes a little. Just wanted to show you guys the 180 millimeters rotor here. At least it's the proper surface area, both front and back that brakes here. Or maybe the back ones are actually not that right. No, the back ones don't look right. Not a lot of surface area here. You can see just half of it. So maybe those need to be adjusted. It will be good. It will be better then, but the front ones. Oh wait, actually, is it just this part here? No. Either way, the brakes don't work all that well. Now, of course, we have to talk about the 26-inch fat bike tires. They run a very low pressure. It's just 20 psi. And let me tell you, those things are extremely comfortable, extremely predictable in all kinds of scenarios. They have a little bit of a tread, and this tread like helps a lot, even going through sand. Like this thing just blasts through sand, where the dual motor mode helps out a ton too. So going around the city, it's, you know, comfortable and stable, very loud though, so I don't like that usually about bikes. But for off-road riding, I think those tires are just like perfect. I really like how this bike rides. Now let's talk about the battery for a little bit. Let's take it out. Boom. You have to remember to like turn the key around once it's in, because you might forget and then the battery rattles around. But yeah, it's a 48 volt, 20 amp hour unit, pretty big battery, 90 kilometers of range. And there's also a battery indicator here on the top, so you know if it's fully charged or not. If you charge the battery at home, you can always check whether it's charged. Also this switch here, and there was also a flap for water. It broke off and it never really was sealing this area really all that well. It just kept popping off. So yeah, definitely a point subtraction for the seal here. It was quite janky. The bike also comes with a bit of a quicker charger than what you're used to in the bike world, at least the Chinese manufactured eBikes. We have a 3 amp charger, 48 volt, so around 5-6 hours for a full charge. A lot better than on the Vacol that I was recently testing. There is also no sealing around the pins here, so you can see here, no seal at all, which is not the best for waterproofing, but at least there's some, you know, it should not get here, but I don't know. I would like to see a seal here. Those screws are also what I talked about earlier. You want to tighten those if the battery rattles around a bit too much. When it comes to the pedals and the crankset, I have nothing to complain about here. For the price, I think it's right and fine. What I do not like though is that this bike makes the impression of being mid-drive, but there's nothing in there. Maybe there's a controller in there. I guess the controller could be in here, but I don't know. I just don't like it when a bike looks like it does something which it doesn't. This like does look like mid-drive, but it's not. I'm sure the space here could be maybe a bit smaller, but maybe I'm just complaining a bit too much. This bike is not mid-drive. This has 2 hub motors, front and back. The rear rack is something I do like about this bike. You can just put some sort of luggage in there. I mean, those bags, I forgot what they're called, but it's a very wide piece of metal, very wide. So you can't really put like the stock off of the shelf mount for your bike bags on here. You need to find something else. And I also mounted, this is my own invention. Those are pegs for carrying a passenger. This is not designed for carrying a passenger, but I did let my girlfriend ride on the rear rack for a little bit, and it was fine. Just something to know. This is something I added on to the bike. Oh, and right, I have to talk about the seat too. The seat is very, very plush. I love how comfortable it is. It's a pretty wide seat too, so perfect for a cruiser kind of position. Not really for like a fast road bike position, but yeah, the seat is excellent here. I really like it. Might be my favorite seat to date on a bike that I got from a Chinese manufacturer. It's also adjustable with a quick release clamp here on the back. And of course, let's talk about the kickstand. It is very sturdy. It's a good kickstand. Love the kickstand here. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself the question, what is the bike good at and who is it for? And I have to tell you that this bike is definitely destined more for the outside of a city rather than riding inside of a city. It is cheap, it's just 1,400 euro, and honestly the thing that I'm missing the most here, which would be a game changer for this bike, is a torque sensor. The cadence sensor is really difficult to work with. You either have to constantly press on the brakes or you have to constantly switch modes, use the throttle. All of those issues would be gone if there would be a torque sensor on the bike. It is heavy, it has very decent range. This bike did really survive a lot of abuse. Took it on many rides and going off-road. And I actually do love the twin motor mode. And it does help out a lot when climbing and especially going through sand. Go! Go! I love the front, like the front drive. It really helps to keep you pointing in the correct way. Now, it's not a mountain bike, I wouldn't say, because it's still very heavy, and maybe even those motors might get too toasty for going up very steep hills and climbing difficult stuff. But with the stuff that I was testing here, even going off-road with some hilly areas, it was fine. But you know, it's not a mid-drive mountain bike by any means. So for 1,400 euro, I would say this is sort of like a dirt bike replacement. Just going in small villages, taking it for, you know, small road trips, just going around nature is where this bike feels the best. So yeah, this is probably where I would use such a bike. And if you are still here, leave a like on the video, subscribe to see more content like this. I'll see you in the next video. See you soon.